to Talkin' Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
Oh, there you go. We're back. We're live. We're brand new. Let's try that all over again. It's Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Theisen, Drew DeArmond. Welcome back into the show. We hope you have a good morning with us. 256-576-4977. That's the number to the phone lines this morning. And we are less than 1 week away from the 2024 Rocket City Awards, the Woody Anderson Rocket City Awards, presented by the Huntsville Sports Commission. 1 week from last night. So we are just under a week. Mars Music Hall, Monday, June 17th. That's the place to be, 7 o'clock. We're going to hand out some fantastic awards on the docket for that night. Will be your North Alabama College Team of the Year on the men's and women's side, your high school Team of the Year on the boys and girls side, your Coach of the Year on the boys and girls side for high school, your high school Athlete of the Year on the boys and girls side. It is going to be a fantastic evening, and it comes up in less than 1 week. You ready?
Yep, ready. Looking forward to it.
It'll be a fun night. Just a little food there at Mars Music Hall. 7 o'clock, the festivities get underway. If you want to hang out with us, you still can. 977-WZZN-events@gmail.com. Or just give Bailey a call and he'll direct you to where you need to go. 256-576-4977. We're going to get you there. We want you to be there. $50 will get you in the door. You can enjoy the night. Mars Music Hall. Some of the nominees for this year's award. I mean, for the award, some names. You're going to have Patrick Harding in attendance. Christian Schweers, will he be there? Will Coach Schweers be there?
Yeah, I mean, Coach knows he's up for the Coach of the Year on the boys' side. So hopefully he and his wife are going to be there. And we look forward to that. We look forward to honoring both student athletes on both the male and the female side that have done a great job in our area. And it was really hard. I mean, there's so many great players, so many great teams that had such a great last 365 days since we had our inaugural show. That, I mean, honestly. It was tough to get it down to 3 and 4 finalists, to be honest with you.
Yeah, some of the high school athlete of the year nominees: Yannick Simon, Caleb Holt, Brandon Mush, Braden Booth. On your girls' side, your nominees: Carly Enos, Annalie Weekly, Leah Brooks, Anna Pierce. It's hard. It was hard. And if you want to find out who wins, come to the banquet Monday, June 17th, Mars Music Hall. We are still counting down towards college football. 74 days, 4 hours, 55 minutes, and 44 seconds till the start of the new college football season. We will talk some college football later here in the show because there are some interesting questions that can come about. But apparently Dan Hurley and you had good feeling about this yesterday because the longer it went, it just looked like he was going to spur the Los Angeles Lakers, and he did.
Decided he didn't want to coach the Los Angeles Lakers.
Are you surprised that LA offers just 6 years, $70 million to coach the team?
There was a lot of rumors about 8 years, $100 million, stuff like that. It's still $12 million a year. He would have been among the top, I guess, a handful of highest paid coaches in the NBA. I mean, but who would want to coach that hellhole? He surely doesn't. I mean, the Lakers are a storied franchise, but right now they're not in a good spot. And that's what happens when you sign LeBron James. And you mortgage the future.
Yeah.
You know, they've only got one championship to show for it, and it was the bubble ship. You know, that's it. You know, the one they won inside the bubble.
They won the what was it?
And they won the
year?
stupid play, whatever that is,
What
the play-in
is it?
tournament.
The in-season.
In-season tournament,
the
whatever.
In-season tournament.
I don't even know what the hell that is. I don't know why you have an in-season tournament. What does it mean? It doesn't mean anything. You know what I'm saying? At least in the NBA, because the goal is to win the championship at the end. I don't know. You know, it was just a way for the Lakers to prop themselves up and win something that's meaningless. So, I mean, I guess for the players, it gives them money. I guess that's what it was for. It's a money grab. I mean, whoever wins it, you get I think there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, so to speak. It's like these players, they're really hurting financially, though. You know what I'm saying? They're making like $30 million a year.
Does it say a lot about college basketball and the state that college basketball is in? I mean, we sit here and say, well, NIL is taking away some of the great coaches.
It's awesome for college basketball, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that he wants to continue to coach on that level and that he turns down the Lakers, which, I mean, the two most storied franchises in the NBA right now are the Celtics and the Lakers. Both have had turbulence, but right now the Celtics are playing for a championship. You know, the Lakers have always had a championship history. They're going to have to probably dump LeBron to try to start climbing back up the ladder because, again, it's just they've got him and Anthony Davis and what? I mean, it's taken up the majority of their payroll and they're not winning. I mean, you know, you got two great players, there's no doubt about it, but they're not winning. They're just getting coaches fired. And so if I'm Dan Hurley, a lot of professional sports is trusting the ownership. I'm not trusting Jeannie Buss. She's not Jerry. She's not her dad. So, and if you look at the last decade or so of the Lakers, it's not been pretty. And so,
no,
I'm not. You know, this is not Jerry West running the Lakers. You know.
All right, 256-576-4977. That's how you can join the program this morning. And obviously, UConn is going to reward Dan Hurley for staying there. I mean,
at least $8 million a year. He already had that on the desk. They're probably going to sweeten it a little bit. It's like some people were saying his salary was 5.2, but it's not going to be anywhere close to that. Look, UConn is going to give him a very rich extension. He's had a lucrative deal on his desk for a while. They're probably going to go back and circle back and kind of reward him for his loyalty. So he'll be probably no worse than the second highest paid coach in college basketball. Bill Self makes $10.5 million with an FBI wiretap, but he makes but Bill is a hell of a coach.
No,
he's won 2 championships in his own right, just like Dan Hurley has. But, you know, Bill Self makes over $10 million a year. And, you know, and I guess my best way to put it is that Dan Hurley will be in that vicinity. So, I mean, I think he'll be probably the second highest paid coach in college basketball. And again, he's still going to be on the East Coast. He's still going to be running his own program. He's still going to have as good a program as anybody in college basketball. Right now, he has the best. And he doesn't have to deal with LeBron James and LeBron James basically being uncoachable and, basically trying to run the team from his spot and basically having to approve every little thing the Lakers do. I wouldn't want to tolerate it.
Yeah.
I can make a lot. And think about the taxes and the cost of living in California, just, compared to where he's at. So, he's in a much better spot.
Jay Wright's name get brought up yesterday.
Of course, they're going to bring it up. He's not coaching. He doesn't want to. I mean, he could have gone to the NBA a long time ago if he wanted to.
All right, that's your little talk, right? That's the biggest thing that happened yesterday off the court. Dan Hurley deciding to stay with UConn. Good for college basketball. Good. If you are a fan of college basketball, that is a good thing. The other thing that happened yesterday is, and when there was only one game, Georgia falls to NC State in the Athens Super Regional Final. That one last night. Their season comes to an end. The number 7 national seed Bulldogs, they fall 8-5 in a winner-take-all Game 3 game. Both Game 1 and Game 2 were lopsided. One went each other's way. Last night, the belt tightened up a little bit with an 8-5 game.
Yep. It was just it was tough for Georgia. I think if NC State ended up with hitting 4 home runs, I think they hit 10 in the 3 games, and they played from out in front pretty much the entire way. Georgia did tie it at 2, but NC State quickly stretched it to 4-2. Then they continued to build a comfortable lead. They led at one point 8-4 after yet another 2-run homer. They really swung the bats well the entire series. No question about that. And their bullpen work was really good last night against a very potent Georgia lineup. I mean, Charlie Condon in his last at bat as a Dog, he did hit a home run opposite field to right. And game of inches, Slade Alford, former Bob Jones Patriots, had one heck of a year. Hit 300 with 17 bombs, 69 RBIs for the Dogs. He, by about a foot, missed a 3-run homer that would have tied it at 6 to right center field off of a hanging slider. Center fielder tracked it, leaped up against the wall, caught it. It's just one of those things. It's a game of inches for the Dogs, and they hit some balls hard, but right at people. It's just that's the tough breaks of baseball, and they certainly overachieved in Wes Johnson's first year because, again, nobody a year ago knew who Charlie Condon was. He's probably going to be the first pick in the draft. He ends up hitting over 430 with leading the nation in average with 37 homers, and I believe it was 79 RBIs, 78 RBIs. It was ridiculous. I mean, he just what a year he had. And Slade Alford, after struggling for 2 years at Mississippi State, goes over there and has an all-SEC type year at second base. They were not supposed to be a host and then a top 8 national seed. They totally came out of nowhere and surprised people and were 1 or 2 swings away from going to Omaha. So kudos to Wes Johnson. He would have been second for me as SEC Coach of the Year. Of course, Nick Mingione being first and getting Kentucky to Omaha. And now we have a split down the middle in the College World Series. It's 4 SEC, 4 ACC teams. So, sorry, Pat Forty, but the SEC still got half the field in Omaha, but so did the ACC. Credit the Atlantic Coast Conference. They obviously
no northern teams in the College World Series,
and that's not a surprise. It shouldn't surprise anybody. There's no West Coast teams. Just like the Lakers are sitting at home, so are all the West Coast teams in baseball. Darn.
I think it's a shock that there's no West Coast teams. I think that to me is a shock. The northern part is not.
No, it's never a shock with a Northeast base. Even though you can say Virginia, they're as close as you can get. I mean, they are an East Coast team.
They are.
I mean, they have an outstanding culture over there. They have won a recent national championship. So, but it's not a surprise that any of the Big Ten teams didn't make it. It's very tough for them, very tough weather-wise, and to attract the talent that they need to do that. There are special teams put together like Backage's Michigan squad back in 19 and so on and so forth when they played Vandy. But it's just tough. But I mean, Oregon and Oregon State were very good. They just ran out of gas. I mean, they just because it looked like Oregon was going to force a game 3 against Texas A&M, but their pitching fell apart. And Oregon State was really good too. I mean, that was a really good series with Kentucky, and Kentucky was just able to outlast them in that great second game. So both of them had really good years. Probably had good enough teams to get to Omaha, but it's just one of those things they couldn't quite pull it off. But so and again, the reason I'm not shocked is with all the turmoil in the Pac-12. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah.
And UCLA and USC. USC made a Cinderella run, nearly winning the Pac-12 title. But you saw what happened in Arizona. They were a host. They hosted a regional, and some people thought they were the Pac-12 regular season and conference tournament champs, that they could get to Omaha. They didn't get out of their own regional and didn't really last long. I want to say they went 0-2 barbecue. So I just don't think the Pac-12 was that strong this year, and probably was affected by all the turmoil that's going on with that league splintering, and now it will. And West Coast baseball is going to be forever altered because half of them are playing in the Big Ten. I said this yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated to see how that affects those programs long term because you're not your out of conference schedule will probably be a lot of local and playing West Coast type programs, but your in conference, is going to be coast to coast and playing in a lot of cold weather environments. So how does that affect your recruiting going forward? That's what's going to be fascinating to me is UCLA, USC, these programs that have been really good, Oregon State. Oregon State's kind of being independent, but how is that going to affect you?
Right.
With being able to build a program and stay relevant. Because, and
we're gonna find out.
softball-wise as well, because UCLA has been a power for a long time. So is Arizona. Arizona's not going to hurt as bad because they're going to the Big 12. So you're still playing teams in Texas, things
Oklahoma
of that nature.
State, you've got Baylor.
Well, you've got teams in warm weather environments.
Right,
You're not
right.
playing in the Big 10. I just want to see how the Big 10 affects these West Coast schools from a travel standpoint and just a baseball standpoint.
I'll just say this: the RPI for the SEC, especially in softball,
Right.
just quadrupled.
Yeah.
Because, you're adding the 4-time defending national
Texas and
champions
Oklahoma.
in Oklahoma who will carry it anyway. And then you add Texas, who made a run to the national championship game. So your RPI in softball just explodes. Your RPI in baseball explodes for the SEC just by adding 2 teams. The ACC they added 4 teams.
The ACC actually, from a baseball and softball standpoint, probably helped themselves. Just because you got Stanford and Cal who are good are good, and Stanford and Cal, it's not going to hurt. Now, the travel is going to be an SOB, but you're still going to be playing good programs and programs in warm weather environments for the most part. You're not going to be doing, now. Here's the trade-off.
Right.
USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon, you're getting all this money. You're awash in money from the Big Ten contract. But, again, how is it going to affect your ability to recruit players when, Coach, I don't want to play when it's 32 degrees, when it's 29 degrees, all this stuff, when you're playing an outdoor sport like that, like baseball or softball.
Unless they schedule a lot of them to play on the West Coast during that, they take Michigan, they take the Minnesotas.
You're going to have West Coast swings.
And they start their West Coast swings in February.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just going to be really, really interesting to see how that goes.
All right, let's get a break in. When we come back, do we undersell the ACC as one of the big boy conferences? They've had success. Do we undersell them? College football news and notes. We'll throw something out there as well. We got all kinds of stuff, folks. We're just getting started. 256-576-4977.
97.7 ESPN The Zone is the Tennessee Valley's #1 destination for the finest in sports talk all day long. Tune in to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond each morning at 7. Then, The Morning Blitz with Captain Cool and the Bandyman. At noon, it's The Tom Abraham Show, followed by Paul Feinbaum and The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. The Zone is also your home for University of Alabama and UAH sports, plus the Atlanta Braves and the High School Sports Streaming Network. And sister station Talk Radio WZZN has Trash Pandas action with Josh Carey all season long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone and Talk Radio WZZN. Listen on the air or download the apps and take them with you everywhere.
Welcome back, Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond, and I tell you what, it's always fun when you have the basketball tournament. You always talk about how many SEC teams, ACC, Big Ten, college football playoffs, how many of the conferences are getting in. The ACC right now is trying to, I guess you could say, puff up their chest a little bit right now because they have 4 teams going to the College World Series.
And they should. I mean, it's a great run.
And so they're talking about the year as a whole for the ACC. They had 5 teams host a baseball regional. 5 teams advanced to the Super Regional. 4 teams in the College World Series. 4 teams in the Sweet 16 for basketball. 3 teams in the Elite 8. 1 team in the Final 4. 1 undefeated college football team that was robbed of a college football appearance, who beat 2 SEC teams, both by 2 possessions. Yeah. 7-5 head-to-head record with the SEC. 4-3 head-to-head record with the Big Ten. And they're like, are we supposed to think of the ACC as a second tier to the Power 2 super conferences like the Big Ten and the SEC? Or is the ACC just as good?
Second tier to both of them. I mean, second tier to both of them.
Yeah.
I still think. I mean, they've had a good year. There's no doubt about that. And I know it was very tough, what happened in football. And, you know, if they hadn't had the injuries late, I think that's really what hurt them and hurt them severely. And everybody knows that, you know, they had those the injuries and what they looked like with a backup quarterback. They weren't one of the top 4 teams by the end because of the injuries. I mean, that's solely what happened. I mean, otherwise I think they would have had a really good shot to be in the playoff and lose. But still, you know, I mean, I still think they would have been in it, and it stinks if it had been a 12-team playoff, they would have been in it. Like, it was also timing. If it had been this year, even with the injuries, they're in it with a backup quarterback. And then they would have been able to apply their wares there. But, you know, it's just one of those things where it was just a really, really tough ending for them. But, again, baseball-wise, hey, I give them credit. I mean, they got 4 teams in the College World Series. They've gone out there and earned it. Everybody that's going to Omaha earned it. There's no, but they had an easy draw, or they backed in and all that. No. They've all earned their way there because you have to win a regional, you got to win a super regional, and then NC State had to win on the road in a bandbox, and they beat Georgia. So you give them a ton of credit. And I heard Ben McDonald and Tom Hart were doing the game last night, and they both, and I had forgot about that, but then they referenced it was kind of good karma for NC State after they got screwed because of Dr. Dumbass when they pulled that COVID stunt, in the College World Series,
right,
which really cost them and got them eliminated because of those asinine rules they had in place at the time. So.
256-576-4977. You can join us this morning. Jeff from the Borough is with us. Good morning, Jeff.
What's up, Jeff?
How's it going, guys?
Good.
I know you guys talk about this or not, but I watched some of the NC State and Georgia game last night.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah.
And I was on the computer last night, just looking around, and all these fans are now outraged that the Army-Navy game will not be a standalone game.
No, it will not be.
And what they should be outraged about is conference realignment and the Pac-12 going away, and teams going out like USC and UCLA traveling to Michigan and Rutgers for football and everything else next year. That's what they should be outraged about. Okay, Army, Navy, give me a break. Let's have a 14 playoff.
So it's going to share, for those that don't know, they announced it yesterday that the Army-Navy game will be Saturday, December 14th. Okay, normally what happens is CBS carries that game. It's the week after the SEC championship. It's
before
a standalone game before the playoffs. It gets a lot of attention, as it should.
Yes.
But now it's going to share a date with the Celebration Bowl, which is the SWAC
that's
and
the HBCU.
Yes, the HBCU Bowl.
Yeah.
And the Camellia Bowl, which is going to be 9 p.m. that night. Now, Army-Navy will still square off at 2 o'clock.
Yes.
The Celebration Bowl will be at 11 a.m. our time, and then the Camellia Bowl will be at 8 o'clock that night. So it's not by itself, but really, I mean, are we going to pay attention at all to the Celebration Bowl and the Camellia Bowl?
Probably not, unless there's a state tie to it.
Right.
I mean,
But that's Alabama A&M's in it, right?
Yeah,
well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Alabama State, Alabama A&M, yeah.
Right.
But what I'm saying is I've read all these people on Twitter. It's an outrage. Oh my goodness, college football's over. Just all the what are you doing that for? It's just it's just my goodness. It's like some kind of you would think that some that's what y'all be outraged. You shouldn't be outraged. You should be outraged about all this realignment, 25 team conferences. That's because I've had friends of mine tell me that what they should do is all these small schools should just break away from the big ones and start their own organization, have whatever sports they have their own national tournament, have their own level of everything. And just tell the big, because there's more of them than there are the big schools.
Right.
There's more of them out there.
Right.
That's what they should do. They're not going to do it, but that's what they say they should do. You can call organization, whatever you want to call it. He just get a breakaway from NCAA and say, "Hey, y'all have y'all's, we'll have ours." And that's what's going. That's what's probably end up happening anyway. Because like a guy wrote down here, he said that the SEC and Big Ten, he says he knows. He says they know they can take their toys and build their own sandbox and play in it.
Well, Jeff, we've actually talked about that though, creating a group of 5 and having
Thanks
them
for the
merge
phone call, Jeff,
with,
by the way, as well.
with the FCS to create kind of a second division on steroids,
Right.
like a group of 5 division that's beefed up and that is separate from what you call the Power 4 right now.
Right.
But we've talked
3.
about that, about them having their own national championship and something to compete for. And the Celebration Bowl, it's the MEAC and the SWAC, and they play it each year, and they do. And it's Coach Prime played in it, lost. He does that a lot, but in the biggest games.
It is sort of their de facto national championship.
It is.
I mean, because the winner of that usually goes on to win the Black National Championship.
Yeah,
which
Black
is
College National Championship.
Black College National Championship, yeah. So, I mean, that is something that
there's no question about it.
Arthur, by the way.
It's a big deal. So
anyway, but the Heisman Trophy will also be awarded that night on the 14th. So, I mean, there's a lot going on.
I hate that in a way for Army Navy because it was always by itself. It was always a huge deal. It's still going to be a big deal though.
Right.
But with all the changes and like what Jeff just said, look, it was inevitable that was going to happen, especially with the expanded playoff. There was going to be you were going to eventually, and the bowl games being moved around, it was going to happen. Okay, just eventually. So hate to see that in a way, but it's still going to be a huge deal. It's still going to be an afternoon kickoff, which, to be honest with you, if it's an afternoon or a night kickoff, it's still – and I think the Army-Navy game would rather have the afternoon kickoff. It's still going to have
its
be a
traditional
showcase.
time slot.
Yes. It's getting the traditional time slot.
Right.
It's just there's going to be other games on that day.
Yes. Let's go to Richard real fast. Good morning, Richard.
Morning, Richard.
Morning, guys. Also on December 14th, because of the football playoff, all your big December college basketball games are that day, like Alabama Creighton. There's like 7 or 8 games that are like top 20 or top 10 type teams playing each other because the playoffs start the next weekend and nobody wants to,
interfere with that.
Right.
So, so I'll probably be at Bama Creighton.
You got a lot going on the 14th. But on your Lakers, I heard a couple of podcasts yesterday, and this has nothing to do with LeBron.
Right.
But basically, the Buss family probably, in all of the NBA, maybe all of sports, probably has their only value, is the Lakers.
Yes.
They said, like Mark Cuban is worth billions. Most of these owner groups are worth billions. The Buss family is worth the Lakers, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So they said they really are cash strapped, and they said they also basically most other NBA teams make fun of them. They said it's like a mom and pop operation.
Well, it probably really is.
Relatives they got all their relatives, and they said that they said they probably Hurley will probably go to the NBA, but because like one guy was making fun of it, said the Cleveland Cavaliers are better run than the Lakers.
I don't disagree with that.
As far as like front office, yeah. And so it says a lot of it, and then the rumors were $100 million, and he got $70 million. So
yeah,
but they said it was a lot. And then an aging roster. And the one thing they said too, they said after LeBron and Davis, the other guys on the team are probably the worst players in the NBA.
Who? That's what I would ask. Who?
Yeah. So
I mean,
one thing is, and it wasn't like an official practice, but you've been to the team camps before at Alabama, but I got to see the basketball team practice the other day.
Right.
So. Yeah, Nelson was out. I mean, probably a little bit of surgery, but he was in shorts, shooting short range. And Wrightful and the new guy Mallett participated in shooting and dribbling, but not any kind of contact. Defense versus offense drills, but just really talented. Cliff, I don't know, however you say his last name, may have the longest arms of any human in the world.
Yeah, his length is like what, 7'6" or so.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, he's not probably but 6'9". I mean, it's not.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Bediako tall,
right?
But it's just his arms
mm-hmm.
out, and and he's got gigantic hands, so it's just easy to dunk. But everybody, in all the shooting drills can drill a three, but with Diabate, of course. But everybody else, I mean, even Cliff hit like 3 or 4 in a row, and nobody's on him.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying, everybody out there can shoot the ball, really except Diabate, who might be your best defensive player.
Yeah, he's a tough kid. Yep.
Yeah, and Sears was back in there and kind of being a leader and looked good. So a lot of talent, running around out there, last week. So
yeah, no doubt.
On the upswing. One thing you were talking about baseball in the Big Ten. I think I've told the story on here before, but I went to a Northwestern basketball game when I lived up there. And they've redone the arena, but it used to be kind of, not real nice.
Mm-hmm.
And, my son and I are there, and basically it's kind of like Vanderbilt football. This is back before college. I mean, bad days. Whoever they played, the other teams in the Big Ten, because they all have fans in the Chicago area, they would fill it up, and you'd have no Northwestern fans there. It's sort of like Vandy football out. And they were playing, I think, Michigan State. It was everybody there was Michigan State, but we went and sat down, and I could hear something behind the stands, like dink, 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 because there's snow on the ground. This is February. I go up to the top rafter, look over. They had a batting cage.
A batting cage?
That's all they could do in February was go in the batting cage behind the basketball, on the back side of the basketball arena to stay inside because there was snow.
Yeah,
on the ground
baseball,
Yeah, that's Evanston.
Yeah.
They also
Evanston,
doubled as their indoor football facility as well at times.
Well,
that was old Welsh Ryan
before Pat Fitzgerald got canceled. He had it.
Thanks for the phone call, Richard.
They were about to spend $800 million on their facilities. I don't know if they still will, but I mean, Pat had it all lined up.
What, Northwestern?
Yeah. And then they canceled
this year, Northwestern is redoing their football stadium.
Are they still doing it?
Yeah, so they are going to have to play. They're playing half of their home games at Wrigley Field.
Oh.
And then there are a couple other games at Wrigley Field, and then they are converting their outdoor practice field into their home venue for this year for several on-campus games.
Oh, wow.
They're bringing in portable stands to turn their practice field into their home field.
Yeah, because, I mean, Steve had Gary Barnett on the drive, and I got to ask Gary Barnett about Pat Fitzgerald, and let's just say he wasn't real happy with the leadership vacuum at Northwestern. I mean, as he said, that is not an easy place to coach.
No, it is not.
And, I mean, because Gary, as we know, he had the one magical year with Pat playing, and then Pat took that job, and as he said, he was very loyal. He stayed for 17, 18 years, and because it was his school and was trying to finally get them out of the Stone Ages where you're not, where your facilities are better.
Where you're modern thinking versus.
And then you got a bunch of woke idiots that run the university that basically canceled him.
Let's get a break in. Wolverine Dan, we'll get to you on the flip side. Plus, we got more college football conversation, news, and notes. We got all kinds of stuff to get through. It's Talking Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
97.7 ESPN The Zone is the Tennessee Valley's #1 destination for the finest in sports talk all day long. Tune in to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond each morning at 7. Then, the Morning Blitz with Captain Cool and the Vandy Man. At noon, it's the Tom Abraham Show, followed by Paul Feinbaum and The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. The Zone is also your home for University of Alabama and UAH sports, plus the Atlanta Braves and the High School Sports Streaming Network. And sister station Talk Radio WZZN has Trash Pandas action with Josh Carey all season long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone and Talk Radio WZZN. Listen on the air or download the apps and take them with you everywhere.
We have got, let's see here. We're going to talk some Kentucky because they're headed to the College World Series. So Daniel Hager will join us again. He'll join us. And then Vince Ferrara, oh my goodness. Vince had a very good weekend. And if you've not heard Vince do baseball and be on their coverage, Vince is pretty good.
Yeah.
For Tennessee
he and
baseball.
John Wilkerson, his partner, they also host the morning show.
Yeah, they had it down. And so he did pretty well. So Vince Ferrara will join us at the bottom of the second hour.
It'll be interesting because last year, or when they've made Omaha, they just sent John and Vince stayed behind. So I don't know if Vince is going to get to go. We'll ask him if he's going to get a chance to go.
He needs to get a pork tenderloin sandwich, and he needs to enjoy Omaha. The zoo is good too at Omaha, by the way.
The who?
The zoo. They have a zoo.
Oh, okay. I thought you were acting like it was like a restaurant called the zoo or something.
No, they have a. They actually have a zoo.
A zoo.
It's the Henry Dorley Zoo and Aquarium.
Oh, okay.
It's very good, by the way.
I was
Very
thinking,
good.
what in the blue blazes? What do they got? Like every kind of animal meat on the menu?
Oh no.
Yeah. When you said the zoo.
So when we were in Iowa,
Right.
we digress.
Uh-huh.
We went to a restaurant. My parents
Uh-oh.
took all of us out because it was the first time in, I don't know, 10 years that everybody was in one place
because it was
at
the
one
first time in like 7 years your son had
Yes,
been on it.
Yes, everyone was there. There was a burger on the menu that was made with ground
okay.
beef,
Okay.
bison, and it was made with venison.
All three, huh?
All three.
Interesting.
My nephew ordered it, by the way.
Oh,
He said it was very good.
nice.
Anyway,
Good experience there.
yes. Don't know where and why that fits into the show, but it does.
It always, things always,
Let's go out to Wolverine,
fun.
Dan. Good morning, sir.
You ever had venison, Dan?
Grounded in with other meat. This venison is very lean.
Very lean. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Dan.
yeah. I
Gotcha.
grounded with making a sausage out of everything. But
Yeah.
Drew, you never cease to amaze me with your one-liners, or you take a name and you change it. Dr. Dumbass, I love that.
Yeah. I mean, the dude's basically a criminal.
Yeah, and while I call him Dr. Fauci, I can't say the other.
Yeah, we understand. Yeah.
But that's who I think of. But fellas, I woke up this morning, got outside, doing a little watering on the flowers, and I chill in there, and I swear to God, guys, I think it's football time now, isn't it?
Does it feel like football time?
It's getting there.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
getting there. The time's passing, man.
It's getting there. We are 70. What did we say at the beginning of the show? 74 days away from the start of the college.
Because
football season.
we're counting the week 0, whatever you want.
Yeah,
Well,
that is to
I'm
week 0.
Yeah.
I'm going to be heading up north in the near future probably, and
Yeah.
might stop by the casino. I wonder what the over-under is for the Big Ten and the SEC to get in the playoffs. How many teams?
I would think for the SEC it'd be at least 3. And the
That's what I'm
only problem with the Big Ten is we believe Ohio State's going to be very good. I mean, they went out and spent all this money and basically bought a football team that they hope Ryan Day doesn't run into a ditch. But I mean, but we don't know. Michigan is a mystery because they lost. If Harbaugh was coaching, there would be more, I think, buzz that they're going to be a lock to make it, but he's not. So that's the reason there's a little bit of, I think there's some mystery there, and they lost so many great players to the NFL.
Which
So
conference gets shorted?
do what?
Which conference gets shorted when it comes to the playoffs? Because you got four. You got 4 Power Fours. I mean, you got the Power 4. You got the Big 12, the ACC, the SEC, and the Big 10. If the SEC can get 3 in, we think the Big 10 can get 3 in. So there's 6 right there. That leaves the ACC and the Big 12.
Well, see, the problem is, though, I want to see how quickly these West Coast teams assimilate themselves in the Big Ten. Like, how are they going to react? I mean, because if Lincoln Sharman, if they breathe on you, he's probably going to want a personal foul or something. He can't handle physicality.
Ryan Day, I've heard that he borrowed Jimbo Fisher's credit card, so
Here we
there's
go.
still some money left on it.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they almost have to at least make the Final Four for him to feel good. I mean, if not, then he's going to be he is going to be on the hot seat.
Right.
Ain't no doubt.
Well, when you spend that kind of cash.
Right.
That's pretty much expected, and I think you are 100% correct. If he doesn't even make the Final Four, I mean, he'll make the playoffs, but if you don't make that Final Four.
Oh, he should make the playoff. Yeah, they're. I mean, with the talent they have, I mean, come on, man. They better be.
Well, I think Sharon Moore, that took over for Harbaugh, did quite well when he was on a suspension. Harbaugh was, but we didn't have to play really tough teams, but I thought he coached really well. I think Sharon Moore's a decent coach. We'll see. Now we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
And of course, when when you got a game show host as a defensive coordinator, that's pretty good.
Oh, yeah, Wink Martindale, yeah, from the NFL. It's so
Well,
crazy
anyway,
it's
fellas,
the same
you know,
name.
I know, it's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but, fellas, I tell you, I love the show. And, Drew, keep doing those one-liners, man, because I love that. And, yeah, I agree with you. This dude is a complete moron.
Yeah.
And, well, no, actually, he's a smart moron that's got a lot of money. Because that I got to give him credit for, because he's got brains and he knows where the money is. And he knew how to get it and pull the wool over our eyes. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. No doubt about that,
See you,
Dan.
bro.
See you.
So my thought was you're going to get Ohio. I mean, you look Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. We'll just throw those three out there, potentially favorites to get to the playoffs there in the Big Ten. You look at Georgia, Texas. I mean, we'll just throw Alabama in there. 3 from the SEC. You look at the ACC. I don't know. I mean, off the top of my head, maybe Clemson, Florida State. I'm trying to think of a third
Well, no,
one.
I was just looking at the Big Ten media days, for example,
Yeah.
how they're doing it. It's going to be Lucas Oil Stadium again. It's going to be a 3-day event, and they're going to do 6 teams a day because they have 18 teams now.
6 teams.
And I was just looking at, and I was just looking to get an idea of like, okay, which of these teams do I think is a lock for the playoff?
Right.
Well, the Sucks lead off the first day, as you would
Yes.
expect.
Yes.
I mean, Wisconsin's probably, and they're playing Alabama early, so we'll know how good Luke Fickell's team is and how much better they are. They're probably an under-the-radar team. But you've got Rutgers, Greg Schiano, but that's a hard place to win. We already talked about the wokeness at Northwestern, and they've basically ruined,
Right.
I think, they were kind of a Cinderella like
I forgot
team
about Oregon.
Yeah, but I know. But see, that what I'm saying is like Brett Bielema is at Illinois. They were
Right.
better last year, but do you think they're a playoff team?
No.
I would say no.
No.
Your boys lead off the second day,
No.
Iowa.
No.
And they were 10-2 last year. Probably would have had a chance to make it, but I just with their offensive struggles and what are they going to look like? The one to me that I'm really intrigued by is Nebraska. Can Matt Rule get them back to where they can compete?
Not to the playoffs this year, no.
I wouldn't think they'd be a playoff team though. And then
They're a 5-loss team this year.
And then Penn State, you would think, should be in the mix to
Right.
make the playoff,
Right.
especially because there's been so much strife. Think about this. UCLA, Chip Kelly left to be the OC with the Sucks. He didn't even want to stay at UCLA because he thought they were setting him up to get fired and didn't think they were, committed to winning. So he didn't get fired. He just left
To be an offensive coordinator.
at another school in the conference.
Yes.
So, and take a huge pay cut. So, because he was making like $7 million a year. And then you got Lincoln Sharman. I don't trust them to make the playoffs, Scott. I mean, what have they done to prove anything? Nothing. And then the last day, just what we just talked about with Dan, Michigan, we don't know yet. I mean, they've undergone so much change. Could Sharon Moore keep them rolling? We'll find out early. And then the other 2 other teams that you kind of mentioned was Oregon and Washington. But Lanning is still there. You would think they would be in the mix. But Washington, hell, we don't know because, their head coach is in Tuscaloosa.
They lost a lot from that team last year.
Yeah, they really
lost
did.
A lot.
They lost a lot. They underwent a coaching change. So we don't know how good. That's another sleeper kind of team. How good is Washington going to be? I mean, we really don't know. So I don't know how many teams. I would say 3 or less.
Right.
I would be going more toward less in the Big Ten. There might be 2 teams.
Well, and that's
somebody with
you start
Ohio
looking at it,
State.
You got 12 teams that are going to make
Maybe
it.
Penn State.
All right, let's get a break in.
Yeah.
Let's do that. When we come back, we'll finish this conversation up to get us into hour number 2.
.97.7 ESPN The Zone is the Tennessee Valley's #1 destination for the finest in sports talk all day long. Tune in to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond each morning at 7. Then, the Morning Blitz with Captain Cool and the Bandy Man. At noon, it's the Tom Abraham Show. followed by Paul Feinbaum and The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. The Zone is also your home for University of Alabama and UAH sports, plus the Atlanta Braves and the High School Sports Streaming Network. And sister station Talk Radio WZZN has Trash Pandas action with Josh Carey all season long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone and Talk Radio WZZN. Listen on the air or download the apps and take them with you everywhere.
Huntsville, Gunners Landing's 18-hole championship Jewel is open to the public 7 days a week. Located in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, Gunners Landing offers you a golf experience like no other. With beautiful Lake Gunnersville views throughout the round, Gunners Landing is golf the way nature intended. Gunners Landing's club repair shop offers a full range of services, including re-gripping and adjusting the lofts and lies of your clubs, even putters. Since the work is done in-house, your clubs will be returned to you in a timely manner. Unmatched in the North Alabama area, it is Gunners Landing. Schedule your tee time today at gunnerslanding.com. That's gunnerslanding.com.
Hydrofest returns to Gunnersville Lake June 29th and 30th with 4 classes of boats racing on the fastest water in the South with 2 days of racing. Gates open at 8 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday, and the fully restored world record speed holder, Miss US 1, will be on the water for exhibition runs for the first time in 62 years. There'll be food trucks, a kids splash zone, and other entertainment, making Hydrofest the best place to be on the last weekend in June. Tickets start at just $15 for a day pass. Tickets and tailgate spaces available at GunnersvilleLakeHydrofest.com.
Welcome back. Talking Ball 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And the Big 12 expands to 16 teams this year.
Yeah.
You're talking about, okay, the Big 10, you look at the college football playoffs, you got the Big 10, and you look at, okay, we're thinking, because they only get 12 teams in, there's only 12 teams, so the number sounds like we're expanding the field, but when you start boiling it down, it's going to be hard. I mean, 12 teams is awful small, because remember the Big 10 is expanding. The Big 12 will go to 16 teams. They are doing their football media days, by the way, in Las Vegas.
Yeah, we just saw that.
And it's only 2 days.
Only 2?
Only 2 days. They are doing 8 teams a day.
Wow.
2 days.
Guess they don't want them staying in Vegas long. Get the hell out.
A 2-day event. But you look at the teams now in the Big 12. Baylor, BYU, UCF, Cincinnati, Houston, Iowa State, Kansas, Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas Tech, West Virginia. Those are your schools that you have. K-State, Kansas. I mean, you look at and SMU now is in there. No, SMU is in the ACC.
Well, I mean, I can understand. I mean, they've still got Texas schools in that league.
But is there one or two there in the Big 12 that you can sit there and say, hey, I mean, somebody in this league is going because your conference champion is going. But is the Big 12, are there 2 to 3 teams in this league that could get in?
I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, there'll definitely be at least 1, maybe 2. Again, they have to play against each other, so there's going to be somebody make a run. And don't forget, now that you have a 12-team playoff, 2 losses doesn't eliminate you anymore.
No.
I mean, it used to be once you hit the second loss, it was panic time because you had a 4-team playoff, and then and before that it was the BCS model, which was basically 2 teams. So a second loss was considered catastrophic. It's not anymore. It's just going to depend on how they play and how they look. And again, I'm going to have to continue to study it because, hell, it's hard to even remember who's all in these leagues.
Oh, I know.
It's come
tough
on,
to go
man.
back and
Who's in the Big 12?
That's what I'm just. That's what I'm saying.
I'm just saying. I'm seriously. I mean, we focus on the SEC here, and we've been talking about the Big Ten this month.
State,
yeah,
Iowa State, Kansas State, West Virginia, Texas Tech, Kansas, UCF, TCU, Houston, BYU, Baylor, Cincinnati.
I mean, in football, I mean, I just
that's
don't.
Football.
I see him getting that ass whooped. That's all I see. But
Oklahoma State, you would think Oklahoma State turns into the face of
and
the
they
Big
were
12.
pissed. They wanted to go to the SEC as well. They wanted to go with OU, and they weren't invited. But they ought to use this as a chance to ascend up the ladder in the Big 12. So you would think they could make a run, and they've had at least stability, Scott,
right.
with Coach Mike Gundy there forever as an alum. You'd think that Oklahoma State would be in the mix to win the league and then get there.
That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, we'll see, but so Arizona and Arizona State.
Oh, that's right. They're in the Big 12 now too.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. I was looking at the standings from last year, but they have not
Right.
they have not put in Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah. Remember,
Utah would be a pick for me because I think Kyle Whittingham's a hell of a coach.
Right.
And
So remember, Colorado goes back to the Big 12.
Yeah, and I don't trust Coach Prime because I think he's just, I think he's.
Oh, you got Kyle Whittingham in the Utes. I forgot.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
there
just
we go.
telling you.
Yeah.
They actually play with physicality. I mean,
They do.
I'm sure he would. That's another coach that I'm sure Lincoln Charman's glad he doesn't have to see in the conference.
Well, wait till Lincoln Charman has to go to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and take on the Golden Gophers.
Or going to the Big House.
November.
Nice.
And it's 15
I can't wait till they go to
out.
Michigan and it's like November and they're freezing their butts off.
Let them play in Wisconsin. Let them play. You know what? Hell,
Yeah.
let them play in Northwestern when you got the lake effect wind coming off of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Your ass
This is Brent
cold.
Musburger's VSiN Action Update on
97.7 ESPN The Zone is the Tennessee Valley's #1 destination for the finest in sports talk all day long. Tune in to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond each morning at 7. Then, the Morning Blitz with Captain Cool and the Bandy Man. At noon, it's the Tom Abraham Show, followed by Paul Feinbaum and The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. The Zone is also your home for University of Alabama and UAH sports, plus the Atlanta Braves and the High School Sports Streaming Network. And sister station Talk Radio WZZN has Trash Pandas action with Josh Carey all season long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone and Talk Radio WZZN. Listen on the air or download the apps and take them with you everywhere.
Welcome to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And a big thank you to SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center for helping us and being a part of Talking Ball, the official training providers for the Rocket City Trash Pandas, the UAH Chargers. They are in charge of this hour here of Talking Ball. So 8881-5151 to experience the SportsMed difference. SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center, dedicated to providing care that improves lives. And I told you it was 31 degrees in 97 when I had to stand up there and cover Iowa and Northwestern. 31 degrees with a wind chill coming off the lake. So that is what USC could be in store when they travel there into the Northwest, or the Midwest, I should say.
Well, I can tell you this. Our next guest, it gets cold there, but right now it's hot. Everybody's super excited.
It's hot.
Yeah, we saw some history, and I predicted it after the regional brackets were announced. I really felt like this was the year that the Kentucky Wildcats were going to make a run, and it wasn't easy.
Yeah,
but they got it done in dramatic fashion, especially to finish off a really good Oregon State ball club. Our next guest joined us on Saturday when we were at University Kia, kind of previewing that Super because it got started a little later than the others. But certainly Nick Mingione, the SEC Coach of the Year, and these young men are now going to Omaha, Nebraska. I'm sure, I would imagine the Big Blue Nation is going to turn out, and we're going to talk about that and more. He works for Kentucky Sports Radio, part of On3Sports.com, and that's Daniel Hager, and he's with us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Daniel, I know you didn't get a lot of sleep after the Game 2 win. That's one reason why I didn't reach out to you, because I figured you guys were going to be up late. But what a weekend, so to speak, for Kentucky baseball.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on, guys. Awesome weekend here in the Bluegrass here in Lexington. Did not get much sleep that night. I think I ended up falling asleep at around 5:30. Right back up at 8.
Wow.
Start putting stuff up for the site, but just it was a really special night to just kind of see everyone come together like that for Kentucky baseball, which hasn't really been a thing like that here. You got your basketball celebrations, like you see the press from Mark Pope. And
the Mark Pope thing was nuts. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, and so just kind of seeing that kind of support heading out for baseball was special. And then Nick Mingione's post-game speech on ESPN, I'm sure you guys saw that. And then his post-game presser, which was really emotional, just him bringing his family up there and him kind of opening up on some struggles, which we haven't really heard that from him. And as he said, he was getting real with us and talking about how in 22, when they missed the tournament for the 4th straight year, just how he really had to change his mind and change his ways. And since then, I mean, they've been one of the best teams in the SEC when you look at just the record-wise. So it was a really special weekend, and I mean, we're excited to be going to Omaha this Friday.
Yeah, when these matchups come out for the Super Regionals, you start dissecting them and looking at them. That was one of the series that we all thought possibly would be headed to a third game.
Yeah.
3 games. And surprisingly, there was only one series, the Georgia NC State series, to go 3 games. Are you shocked?
No, Tennessee and Evansville.
My bad. I undersold the Vols.
Yeah. We always do that. We hate them.
Yes. Well, okay. Anyway, are you shocked that this thing just went 2?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, honestly, I predicted Oregon State would win the first one, and then UK comes out and has that 7-run inning and really puts them in the ground, and we're all looking at each other like, okay, like, did not think that it was going to go this way. So go out the next day, and I'm like, okay, like UK will go up. They go up 1-0, but I do think Oregon State won't just come out of here playing like they did in that first game. Sure enough, just 2 hits in the second game, so they were held to just 3 hits and 2 runs all weekend, which was really crazy for a team as talented as that. But that's just a testament to what Kentucky's pitching did. Just really, really dominant. Trey Poozer was dominant. The bullpen, which I said would be the key, and they completely shut down Bazana and the rest of the guys. I think he went 1 for 8 or something like that.
Yeah, he got a big hit late, though. Made everybody sweat, dude. But hey, but I got to say this, though. My guy, Mitchell Daly, made really the play of the game, if you think about it, in that last inning. Because if he doesn't make that play, they very likely tie the game, and they got a chance to walk it off. That was an unbelievable stop and throw. I mean, at least I thought it was.
Unbelievable. From my vantage point, they talked about it post-game. I think Devin Burks, the catcher, called for an inside slider, and Hogan kind of left it right down the middle.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
And right when he threw it, they were like, uh-oh, and he ripped it down the third baseline, and Daly stopped. And I just thought he was going to stop it. It didn't look like he even shot at that play. But sure enough, he gets up and fires it across the diamond and got him. And it really wasn't even that close. I know they reviewed it, but, I mean, at that point, like, you've got nothing else to lose. So, yeah, once again, he comes up big, and he had a double as well, and I think he led UK in hits on the weekend. So that dude, I mean, we talked about just how big of an impact he's had. He's been so good in his role, accepting his role, and he's been awesome here in Lexington.
Yeah, he really has.
You go to the post game, and coach is in there. He has his son with him, Reeves, but he gives a powerful message in there. When you start hearing this message, your thoughts from Coach and the message that he's telling everyone in the postgame room.
Yeah, it's just you're not going to meet a coach that's more real with you than Nick, and what he was talking about is true. Heading into that 2023 season, like the thought here in Lexington was like, this guy has got to perform this year, and he's got to get into the NCAA tournament, or he might not be here much longer. And so that was a real thing that was going around.
Yeah.
And so for him to come out and he was talking about just the sacrifices he'd have to make and the changes he had to make, and this is when they kind of changed their scheduling ways and some coaching changes. One big thing he touched on was his move to third base. And he bring Nick Amorati into the dugout, who's just such a good guy, and the guys in the dugout love him. So his presence in there has been really welcomed, and Nick's moved to third. And just, I'm telling you, this guy Mingione, he's just overcome so much, and that was real. What he was talking about post game, and I've never been to a post game presser where the head coach pulls out his phone and starts playing a song, but he started getting emotional when he was playing the song, and just looking around the interview room, I mean, everyone was just kind of getting a little bit emotional, and it was hard not to.
Well, I mean, I was watching after the last out, and your guy, I'll toot your horn here too. You told us about Hummel, and he closed it out with the strikeout, and I was just watching the celebration, and yet Nick was just sort of taking it all in. I saw Mitch Barnhart standing next to him, and they were both they weren't in the middle of it. They were just watching everybody and just sort of smiling, and because it was such a historic moment for the program. But in your mind, I mean, Dan, you've been covering this program, since Mingione's been there. What were the biggest changes that he made philosophically and whatnot to improve the program to the point where the last 2 years they went to the Supers, they lost to the eventual national champs on the road in Baton Rouge, and then this year basically they were as good as any team in the SEC from start to getting to Omaha. They were very, very consistent.
Yeah, I touched on it last week, and it's just about getting older and getting guys with that experience. That I don't even know if it's NCAA tournament experience, but just baseball experience. His first few years here, you've got maybe some guys that were homegrown guys, and then just he was feasting on the mid-major guys. He wasn't really getting these Power 5 transfers, and now he's put himself in a spot where you can get guys like Mitch Daly, who comes from Texas, and guys like Robert Hogan, who come from Texas A&M, who
Lopez,
go up there, and got Nick Lopez from USC, Ryan Nicholson from Cincinnati, and you just keep seeing these guys just come up time after time. I know Daly and Nicholson were their two best hitters in the 5 or the 4 and the 6 hole. Like if you look, Kentucky's top of the lineup did not play well at all this weekend, but they were saved by that kind of middle of the pack lineup, which was made up of those Power 5 transfers like a Daly and Nicholson. So just kind of bringing those guys in, attacking those guys, and then just I know he started this last year, scheduling teams early that would be in the NCAA tournament, like last year playing Indiana State, and this year scheduling some teams like that, just getting themselves some experience that they'll need later in the year, and it has really, really worked out for them well.
So now they're off to Omaha. The history has been made. The last SEC school to ever get there. It's all done now. Now what are the expectations of this team once they get there?
I mean, the expectation is to win at this point. They're the number 2 overall seed. I believe they're the 3rd favorite on betting odds. I mean, there's never been a better chance in school history to go win this thing because they've never made it. And now they're there and they know their matchup. And NC State, Texas A&M, and Florida are the 3 lone teams standing in their way. And
they're familiar with all of them. I mean, I know they didn't play NC State in the regular season, but look, I mean, 3 of the other 4 is like a pod to the SEC tournament.
Yeah, it's like the SEC ACC Challenge.
Sorry, Pat Forty.
The College World Series, which is pretty wild. So, we haven't seen UK against NC State, so looking forward to that. But UK did beat Florida on the road in Gainesville this season. They won that series, and haven't got to see them against Texas A&M. Right. But I mean, the bracket's there, and you look at the other side, and I believe the only team that's probably better than UK is Tennessee. And I honestly believe that in the whole bracket, the only team that's better than UK is Tennessee. So the bracket's there. The expectation around here is, they keep making these records and breaking history this season, and why can't they just go win the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think they got a shot. Now, if they do, we'll never hear the end of it from Jeff ever.
Interesting.
Daniel, we have a caller, a big Kentucky fan. And I told him to start. I mean, he was doubting us, and I said, look, I think Kentucky's going to Omaha. So I said, and I had mistakenly forgotten that the 06 team, which was really good, that I remember, they fell just short. I was thinking they had been one time. They fell just short. I was like, well, I think this is the year. And who knows? We've seen teams get there. I remember Pepperdine doing it years ago in '92. They had never been, I believe, and they won it their first time. So it can happen if everything lines up. And the thing about it is you got to be healthy. Yep. I think you know it as good as anyone. But this seems to be a healthy Kentucky team right now.
The only thing that they've been dealing with is an arm injury or lingering injury with Travis Smith out of the bullpen, which is why he hasn't thrown in the NCAA tournament. But I believe he started that first SEC tournament game and just went 2 innings. But he's been kind of dealing with stuff all year. But even he at this point is probably the healthiest he's been all year. And so UK they got through these games and just played 5 games. They're one of the 3 teams. I think A&M only won in 5 games, and maybe one other team as well, maybe Virginia. But they got the job done quick, no extracurriculars, and like you said, they're healthy and they're ready to go.
Are you headed to Omaha?
Yeah, we'll be heading down there on Friday, so really excited for that.
Good deal. Get you a pork tenderloin sandwich.
This was coming. I knew this was coming. I've had one, but it was in Indianapolis, Daniel.
I'm from the Midwest, literally in the Midwest.
Scott went to Northern Iowa.
Pork tenderloin sandwiches, it's just a thing.
Yeah,
gotta get you a pork
it's
tenderloin
a Midwestern
sandwich.
thing.
Yes, it's a Midwest thing.
Along with the milkshakes.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And the Jello shots. I've already seen Kentucky.
Rocco's.
Yeah, I've already seen that. They've already put that billboard up there. Now, I will say you've been around the fan base since they clinched it. Is the Big Blue Nation? Pardon me. Are they going to turn out? Is a lot of people going?
Oh, from what I've seen, there are some pleas on Twitter, X. They're coming for that record. The BB. I don't know if they come for the record, but they're going to come for that crown this year.
Oh wow!
People are excited, and people were booking their trips and hotels and plane flights. So there's a lot of excitement in Lexington right now that I've never seen for this program. So it's been cool to see that rise and the growth of that program over the last few years to this point.
Yep.
Wow. I think it's great. I think it's good because, I mean, for so long it was basketball. I mean, it still is.
Oh, it always will be. But I mean, this is awesome.
But I think it's great that it's evolving into. I mean, football. Mark Stoops is as year in and year out. You're in the discussion as one of the top 3 teams. Used to be in the East. Now the East is gone. and then it was basketball, and now it's baseball. I just think it's great. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's really a testament to what Mitch Barnhart has done at Kentucky, and I know that guy gets a lot of slack from UK fans, but the amount of winning teams that he consistently puts out and the coaching decisions he makes, and I think he's just done a great job. And he's been at UK long enough to where some SEC schools have hired 7 ADs in that time.
Yeah.
And so you don't stick around that long for not being good. So this is a testament to what he's done. And, UK won a volleyball national championship a few years ago. And now UK baseball is getting to Omaha. UK basketball is what it is, hiring Mark Pope. And Mark Stoops is now the longest tenured SEC coach. So it's just the success that's gone around here has been really, really impressive to see.
It really is. And what do you think the key is going to be against NC State? I know you've studied them a little bit, but they always say you got to stay in the winner's bracket in Omaha.
Yeah. Just going ahead and looking at the NC State matchup, which I did last night, it's pretty wild because when you go and look through their team stats, it's like there's nothing here that really sticks out. I know their pitching staff wasn't great. I think they had an over 16 ERA, which was, I think, 156 in the country. So just continuing to wake up that top of the lineup will be key because Ryan Walshman was 0 for 9 in the Super Regional. Nick Lopez was about 1 for 8. So getting those guys going at the top and then keeping the consistency with that middle of the lineup with the Daly and the Nicholsons going. And I think they've got as good a chance as anyone else. They can get those guys going along with the stellar pitching that they've had for this NCAA tournament. That's been so impressive to see.
Well, we hope that UK can make a run. That way you'll be joining us next week. But thank you for joining the show and giving us a look inside this Kentucky program. You do a great job covering it. Tyler told me that you're going to be outstanding. She certainly was right. She's helped us out a lot and does such a great job with Kentucky Sports Radio. You guys have a great staff over there. Matt's been with us some. But just let everybody know how to follow your work and safe travels to Omaha.
Yeah, appreciate you guys for having me on. Always a pleasure. You can find me on X or Twitter at Daniel Hager KSR and all of my work on the Kentucky Sports Radio website.
Enjoy it, man.
Enjoy the trip.
I will. I appreciate you guys.
All right. Lexington to Omaha.
It's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
I mean,
pretty cool.
My dad and I were talking.
This is the time, though.
Yeah.
This would be the time when Omaha would be bananas.
Yeah.
Because the Olympic swim trials start next week. And for years, Omaha hosted the U.S. Swimming Olympic trials.
Right.
And they were literally about 10 feet away from the baseball field now, TD Ameritrade, whatever it is.
Gotcha. Yeah,
so the arena that they would host the trials and the baseball field, they're kind of
right
adjoined.
beside each other.
Yeah. Can you imagine if that was going on right now with the baseball, how bananas and crazy it would be? Now the trials are in Indianapolis. They're doing it at Lucas Oil Field. They put a pool inside the football facility, the football complex.
Yeah.
All right, let's get a break in. Come back. Phone lines open, 256-576-4977.
97.7 ESPN The Zone is the Tennessee Valley's #1 destination for the finest in sports talk all day long. Tune in to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond each morning at 7. Then, the Morning Blitz with Captain Cool and the Bandyman. At noon, it's the Tom Abraham Show, followed by Paul Feinbaum and The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. The Zone is also your home for University of Alabama and UAH sports, plus the Atlanta Braves and the High School Sports Streaming Network. And sister station Talk Radio WZZN has Trash Pandas action with Josh Carey all season long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone and Talk Radio WZZN. Listen on the air or download the apps and take them with you everywhere.
Welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. Welcome back into the show. 256-576-4977. That's the number to the phone lines. This morning you can join us if you would like.
Sorry about that, Bama Bino. We were right going into a break, man.
There.
Yeah, we had to go to Daniel, and he's on his way to Omaha, and we're excited for him. And
to get a pork tenderloin sandwich.
Yeah, we sure are. We hope he gets a pork tenderloin sandwich.
Yes.
And, ain't no telling. And I'm sure he's going to have some great food and a good time covering the Bat Cats going to Omaha, Nebraska. We should have asked Jeff if he was going.
Oh, he'd not going. Because that means he'd have to sit there, and if they somehow would lose, he wouldn't be able to not watch it, so he wouldn't be able to sit in
I'm
there.
not making fun of him. His team's going.
I know. Hey, did you see this, though? This comes this just, I don't know, kind of chaps you a little bit, I guess.
Uh-oh.
The 1983 NC State basketball team, you know how great the whole.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Jimmy V's run.
They're now suing the NCAA.
What? For what?
Part of the lawsuit, and I quote, this is what it says in the lawsuit. For more than 40 years, the NCAA and its co-conspirators have systematically and intentionally misappropriated the Cardiac Pact's publicity rights, including their names, image, and likeness.
Here we go.
Associated with that game and that play, reaping scores of millions of dollars from the Cardiac Pact's legendary victory.
So now that, with all these lawsuits, everybody's trying to go back and get money,
Yep.
Everybody.
They're saying the NCAA has capitalized on their national championship and they want a piece of the pie.
Give me a break. It's not like NC State didn't make any money off that. It's hard to go back in time and do things like that.
Players are doing this, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 of the former players have joined the lawsuit. Now, Lorenzo Charles, he has passed away, unfortunately, in 2011.
Yeah.
The guy that missed the 30-footer is actually a staffer now in the NC State Athletic Department.
Derek Wittenberg.
He is not part of the lawsuit.
Well,
so there's two guys, Lorenzo Charles, rest in peace, and
in other words, the two biggest contributors to this play.
Yes, they are not part of it, but the other 10 are.
It's hard to go back in time like that, man, because times change, things change. But NC State's, nobody will ever forget that. And I know they're trying to make monetary, what they're basically wanting is back pay.
Yes, they're wanting back pay for everything.
From 40 years ago.
So
and that's very difficult to do.
The first thing that came into my mind was Alabama's 92 national championship there at the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah.
And the play and, the strip and everything.
Yeah, George, he could sue.
Yeah. Are they going to – that's the first thing that – no, I don't think he will.
Do it.
But that's the first thing that popped into my mind.
Give me a break. You just can't. It's tough to go back 30 years and come on, man. What you're basically doing it for.
What about like Christian Leitner's turnaround jumper?
Yeah.
How much money has the NCAA made off of that jumper?
How many times is that replayed? And how much PTSD do you want to give Kentucky fans? Good God.
Does Christian Leitner sue the NCAA for back money?
I have friends that are Kentucky fans. They can't even watch a Duke game because they just get so angry. And they'll never get. And I understand you don't ever get over something like that.
No, you don't.
Man.
But those are some of the great memories of college athletics.
That
they keep showing over and over.
But I just don't think you can go back in time like that. Now, everything's changing for the modern athlete, and they ought to be thankful for it.
Right.
Just like we had Roll Tide Rick call in yesterday about LeBron James. Why does LeBron James wear number 23?
Because
who wore it?
Michael Jordan.
Yeah. It's not because LeBron James is he's wearing it in homage to the greatest player ever. And again, all these players now are able to make a living off their name, image, and likeness and get shoe deals because of Michael. Hell, half of them wear his stuff.
I thought you were going to say it's because of Reggie Jordan.
I mean, come on, man. I mean, it's just one of those things. He paved the way, and now they're benefiting from it, and they should. But you can't go back. Well, Jordan can't go back. Well, I should have made more money off my jumper from
North Carolina. Yes.
I mean, come on.
There you go.
I mean,
Keith Smart.
Yeah.
Hitting the shot for Indiana to win the national championship.
I mean,
does he go back and sue because he didn't make any money
Chris
off of
Jenkins,
that?
my man from Villanova, pulling up. I mean, give me a break. I mean, there's just no way to continue to benefit from that, man. I don't think.
We'll see if the suit goes forward. And if they do make if the judge if this suit if it does end up in the hands of the judge, a judge decides that, well, they do deserve some money, then I have a feeling others will stand in line and want a hand, and their hands will be out, and they're gonna want their cash.
I mean, I understand that, but I just think it's weak from the standpoint. I don't know how you win that case. I mean, it's just.
I know.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, I love that NC State team. Their story. It's one of my first memories of basketball. I love it. But it's just, to me, it's hard to want to say. And what do you? How much is it worth? How do you put a number on it?
I don't know.
I just don't. I don't know. Now going forward, if they want to, I've seen some athletes that are no longer playing for said university start to put out their gear and try to capitalize on it.
Right.
I mean, they could do some things with NC State and try to capitalize on it. Probably still have. But, I mean, because these guys aren't collegiate athletes anymore. But you could go back to the well and partner with NC State and do some things. I mean, matter of fact, I was watching the post game of Georgia-NC State last night. And Elliot Avent has been their coach for 20-something years, man. He's been in coaching 36 as a head coach. This is, I think, his third trip to Omaha at NC State. And he was talking about Jimmy V. He said the Jimmy V is a thing, these runs by NC State. Remember, they made a Final Four in basketball this year.
Yes.
They were an 11 seed. They weren't even going to get into the NCAA tournament if they didn't win 5 games in 5 days to win the ACC tournament. Beating North Carolina, beating Duke, beating all these teams that were seated ahead of them, and then beating Duke again in the Elite Eight. I mean, heck, they made a great run. But he was talking about how that mantra and that mojo is a thing, and so they can still capitalize on it. But I just don't know how you back it up to 83, 40 years and do it.
It sounds absolutely crazy. It does. It really does. Let's get a break in, though, because when we come back, Vince Ferrara is not crazy.
No.
We're going to find out if he, too, is headed to Omaha to get a pork tenderloin sandwich. Coming up next.
97.7 ESPN The Zone is the Tennessee Valley's #1 destination for the finest in sports talk all day long. Tune in to Talkin Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond each morning at 7. Then, The Morning Blitz with Captain Cool and the Bandyman. At noon, it's The Tom Abraham Show, followed by Paul Feinbaum and The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. The Zone is also your home for University of Alabama and UAH sports, plus the Atlanta Braves and the High School Sports Streaming Network. And sister station Talk Radio WZZN has Trash Pandas action with Josh Carey all season long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone and Talk Radio WZZN. Listen on the air or download the apps and take them with you everywhere.
can contact our clinics in Huntsville and new clinics in Madison and Coleman at 256-715-7151 or visit us at veracosityveincenter.com.
Veracosity Vein Center, Alabama's premier vein center.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners of the Huntsville area, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
All right, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond. Welcome back into the program. And we talked a little Kentucky baseball there at the top of the hour because they are headed to Omaha. The other team,
the top seed,
you could say that, yes, just one little minor bump in the road.
Yeah.
They, too, are hot.
Here we go with this.
See, I mean, look, we didn't have it for Kentucky. And you said, see, so they too, the Tennessee Volunteers head to Omaha.
Well, they're hot.
Despite that one little bump in the road with Evansville.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen, but Tennessee responded in a good way. I think it's the way that they responded in Game 3 that you sit there and say, you know what? It was a bump in the road. They're going to Omaha.
They left no
and they have a
doubts.
good chance of winning this thing.
They've won the SEC tournament, and this time they exercised those demons from the Game 3 against Notre Dame, and it wasn't even this game was over. It was an early night Tyson knockout. Didn't really surprise me. This is a very talented Tennessee team, and now they have as good a shot as any to win their first national championship, and the top two seeds in Omaha are Tennessee and Kentucky, and we're going to talk Vol baseball with a guy that was on the call with John Wilkerson this weekend. Did a great job. He's been getting a lot of kudos for their call of Tennessee winning this super regional, and now the Vols are headed to Omaha, and that's Vince Ferrara of the Sports Animal 99.1. Vince, how are you doing this morning, man?
Gentlemen, good. You know, whenever you do your morning show, it's like eternally fatigue all the time. And we had a short turnaround from Sunday night because we had a weather delay that pushed the start back an hour. And then long post-game, long game, all that fun stuff. But got some sleep to catch up on, but I'm good, raring to go, and always fun to talk to you guys.
Yeah.
Are you headed to
Omaha?
Omaha?
Scott was wanting to know if you're headed or if it's just going to be John.
Are you getting to go?
No, I am not, because we have a unique dynamic, and John and I, John Wilkerson, long-time radio voice, we host a show together, so somebody has to be here for remotes and stuff. So that was the case last year. So I've gotten to go before, went in 2021 for the first time. It was an awesome experience. But, I'm going to have to hold down the show for it for remotes and stuff back here. So, but we'll be listening in to John's call.
Well, that's what happens when you take Jimmy Himes' place, man. You got somebody has to stay in the studio, but it's still
without his stroke.
Yeah,
take his place without his stroke for sure.
Yeah, the semi-retired Jimmy, who I bet we see in Dallas. I'm going to be shocked if he's not there, but you know.
Well, actually, you would think so, but I think he has like a family wedding that week, so I think that's the only reason we won't see him. But he was at the spring meetings.
He was.
Jimmy, we run a bunch of interviews that Jimmy did because you guys know nobody covers it like him. He gets a bunch of one-on-ones. So we're still running some of his one-on-one interviews. So he's still a part of our show. And he's like our top fill-in, which is just crazy to say.
Yeah, well, I mean, he got a shout-out from Greg Sankey, you know.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
Well, so Vince, take us through Game 3. I mean, you wake up on Sunday morning, and I mean, if you look at social media at all on Sunday morning, oh my goodness, it was. I mean, everything was just piling on Tennessee. I mean, they lose Game 2. How could they lose Game 2? Are they going to be able to win Game 3? This is it. I mean, this is the biggest one for Tony Vitello. He's got to win this. They left no doubt.
No, they did
in that Game 3.
But it was interesting, Vince, because I was listening to the beginning of the game, and they said that there was some consternation and seemed like there was some tenseness in the dugout before the game, and then they fall behind 1-0. So was there a lot of was it tense around the team before the game?
I I didn't sense that. Now, I'm not down the field a ton, but Tony Vitello kind of mentioned, not kind of mentioned, but he did in the postgame that, like, the ESPN crew was kind of sniffing around the clubhouse, like asking if they were tense, I think maybe that was more of a product of conversation, fans and media, kind of like you mentioned, Scott, and maybe they saw something that they interpreted to kind of fit that narrative.
Yeah.
But that's not this team's personality. And just to set it up for you real quick, even more, I do a TV show on Sunday mornings, crazy high-rated TV show with, Jimmy's been on it, Josh Ward, a bunch of us, kind of a rotating panel, the Sports Source, and I was on that morning. So a lot of the topic was, where would this rank in terms of the most embarrassing losses in Tennessee athletics history? Because a 4 seed had never had never beaten the number 1 national seed in any NCAA tournament game.
Right.
They were 0 for 30 against the number 1 national seed, so that was history. So, this would have been viewed as worse than the Notre Dame super regional loss a couple of years ago, and in some people's minds, it would have been the worst. So there was that, and there was a line of questioning afterwards, and would this be an unsuccessful season? If you guys don't win tomorrow, and Tony Vitello didn't like that. But if you look at this team and you follow them, there are a couple of things. Despite all the narratives, and some of it was opposing fan bases, and some of it was Tennessee fans, because they bring the new fans to baseball. And you guys know baseball, so you got to look at it differently. The new fans bring in the football mentality.
Yes, we've been talking about that.
Yeah, one game means the world, and that's not baseball. I was confident in Tennessee, one, because of the roster. They had the pitching depth advantage with almost everybody available, quality arms that could go farther in. Their established third-game starter that had been terrific in Xander Seacrest, and he followed that up being even better. And then also knowing Tennessee had been in rubber matches all season long. Prior to the Super Regional, they were 5-1 in rubber matches this year. Actually, all of SEC play. The one they didn't win was Alabama, which was their only series loss.
It really is,
They hadn't lost 2 games in a row since that Alabama series because they won their next 9. But they had 5 other rubber matches that came down to Sunday or the last game, and they won all of them. And they beat Ole Miss, Auburn, yes, teams that didn't make the tournament, but the other 3 were Georgia, Kentucky, and Florida, who, all deep in the tournament or still alive.
And Kentucky and Lexington, I believe,
Yeah, absolutely. So this team had been, in those situations before. Yes, it's higher pressure in the tournament, but, man, you experience against that high level of competition. Baseball is a day-to-day sport where you reset. Look at that North Carolina State, Georgia Super Regional.
Yeah, it
could not have been more different every single game. And the road team, the technical road team, won every single game. So it's just baseball where you restart it. The farther you go into the tournament, the more talent wins out, the more stars win out if they're playing at that level. Saw with LSU last year, Paul Skeens and all that crew. So, I felt confident, and they were emphatic. Oh, by the way, those game 3s where it came down to a rubber match had outscored their opponent 70-23, so they did the same thing against Evansville.
So I guess all of that, you put all of that in the bag and you light it and it goes off. That is what set Tony Vitello off. Then I wouldn't say set him off, but that is why he really didn't hold back in his post-game press conference.
It was the question in the Game 2 post-game where basically Blake Burke was asked, hey, what do you think if you guys don't win? The season will be a failure. And somebody else phrased the question to, you guys have been number 1 all season, and then if you don't win, and what about this being an unsuccessful season? And he's like, well, it wouldn't be an unsuccessful season if we don't win. with everything we accomplished, and so he didn't like snap back at the time, but he had time to think about it. And then Blake Burke told him that he didn't, like that line of questioning, that it's not fair to people to judge us like that, that it would be unsuccessful with the way this season has gone. And so he wanted to get it off his chest, but he didn't snap back immediately. He waited until they had won and he had the mic and the opportunity. But that's the biggest thing is, hey, don't view this as just we're either getting the result or we're not. The best coaches, and you guys know, Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, those guys aren't about the result. They're not preaching that to their players. It's the process. And that's why he went off on the definition of success and all that kind of stuff. So the most unfortunate thing is that that's been a bigger part of the conversation rather than the accomplishment of Tennessee, was what Tony Vitello said and why. But look, in the end, the fans loved it. I guarantee you the players loved it, that he had their backs. And then pretty powerful in recruiting, I'm going to guess. So even though he snuck in there, I love this. This is my favorite part of it. It has nothing to do with the success. He's like, if you're coming looking for just money, don't waste our time. To recruit. So a couple other coaches have kind of gone that route, but I thought it was interesting that he snuck that in there.
Yeah, Gary Gilmore was talking about that too. I mean, Tennessee's got as good a shot now as any, and if you get to Omaha, it's not a failure for a season, just like it wouldn't have been if LSU didn't win it last year. I know they hadn't won it in a long time, and that's their expectations, but they won it. Now Tennessee's got a shot. A lot of times, our former colleague and guy that we featured so many years, John Schulman, who was here 5 years, he always said a lot of times you got to get there first and experience it before you win it. Now Coach Vitello, he's been there multiple times. They know what to expect. And now they get to exercise another demon if they can beat Link Jarrett. How ironic.
Yeah, I don't know how that is an interesting storyline. I don't know that it's deep enough to have something that is on anyone's minds. I mean, you may poll the Tennessee baseball players and ask them who Florida State's coach is, and they have no idea. Yeah, right. So I mean, Tony Vitello, we talked to him on Monday, and like he didn't even know about the whole bracket.
Yeah, right.
He's so locked in on his team and stuff like that. So you're right, though. It is noteworthy that he was the coach at Notre Dame when they beat Tennessee in the Super Regional in Knoxville a couple of years ago. And there's little storylines in the group, like Cannon Peebles transferred from North Carolina State, one of Tennessee's catcher slash DH. They have an ex-Vol in Hollis Fanning, a 6'8" right-hander that's on the NC State team. There's 5 players, 3 on different teams from the Knoxville area. Tennessee has all the familiarity in beating the 3 SEC teams on the other side. They've played Virginia in the College World Series before. North Carolina State beat them in a regional a few years back, early in Tony Vitello's tenure. So you can make connections to a lot of them. And then people were talking about the football aspect of it too, of Tennessee's national championship coming against Florida State back in '98 also.
And the thing is, too, a lot of it is health, because right now Texas A&M's got a lot of injuries. I don't really know, because they were one of my picks, and then I don't know if they're healthy enough. How healthy is Tennessee right now?
Well, if you take A.J. Russell out of the equation, who has not pitched very much, and there's reports that surfaced yesterday that he is going to go undergo Tommy John surgery, which is unfortunate. He's had soreness all year, and if that's the case, next year is in question. He was supposed to be their Friday night guy. He's that kind of talent. Yeah. So they really haven't had him. But otherwise, everybody else, Christian Moore did not start game 2 at second base because he had leg soreness. He seemed to be pretty fine in game 3, so I don't think that's an issue. Everybody else is good to go. This team has stayed healthy. At times, that has been something that has popped up both in baseball and in basketball, more so in basketball, in losing key players. But they seem to be pretty healthy right now, and so I think they're in good shape. And as far as I know, Florida State is in good shape. We'll dive into them. I know some about them, but we'll dive into a little bit more of those details as the week goes on. But I think these two teams are fairly healthy.
Well, it's going to be a great time for the SEC. SEC-ACC Challenge, 4-piece. We'll see who can bring home the title. SEC trying to bring home their 4th straight. And now Paul Maneri is back in the league at South Carolina, so it just gets tougher.
Yeah, it's wild. And Josh Elander, Tennessee's associate head coach and recruiting coordinator, he was showing up pretty high on those candidate lists, those watch lists and it's. I'm shocked that some big program hasn't snatched him up. Maybe it'll happen this offseason, but that's a sigh of relief for Tennessee fans that they didn't lose Josh Elander to South Carolina. Maybe South Carolina didn't want to wait around until the College World Series was over. I'm not sure, but look, for Tennessee, 3 of the last 4 years in the College World Series under Tony Vitello, 3 50-plus win seasons, back-to-back College World Series for the first time. I think only Virginia is the only other program that's gone 3 of the last 4 years to the College World Series. So top-level competition and to still be there, yes, Tennessee wants to win more than a game and go deeper or cash it in. But, just the consistency with everything going on in the sport right now is really impressive.
Really is.
All right, Vince.
Appreciate it, man.
Should be a fun time.
Should be fun. And, I know you guys are going to be all over it. Let everybody know how to follow y'all's coverage.
Yeah, appreciate it. Our show, we obviously talk a lot of Tennessee. We talk, college football all the time, including today, and then obviously SEC as well. We have a handle on all the socials. It's Sports Talk on 991, Sports Talk on 991 for X/Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And then my personal handle is Vince Sports, VINCE Sports, on all 3 of those as well. So always fun to talk to you guys. Appreciate anyone that will give us a follow.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Vince.
All right, see you guys. Thank you.
Let's get our final break in. Tomorrow's headlines wrapping us up.
.97.7 ESPN The Zone is the Tennessee Valley's #1 destination for the finest in sports talk all day long. Tune in to Talkin' Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond each morning at 7. Then, the Morning Blitz with Captain Cool and the Bandyman. At noon, it's the Tom Abraham Show, followed by Paul Feinbaum and The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. The Zone is also your home for University of Alabama and UAH sports, plus the Atlanta Braves and the High School Sports Streaming Network. And sister station Talk Radio WZZN has Trash Pandas action with Josh Carey all season long. 97.7 ESPN The Zone and Talk Radio WZZN. Listen on the air or download the apps and take them with you everywhere.
With Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
We'll get to the headlines here in just a minute. Let's go out to the phone line, shall we? Steeler Mike with us. Good morning, sir.
Well, good morning. It's Vols are headed to Omaha.
Yeah, excited.
Hey, go Vols. I got a question. I need you guys to confirm a rumor for me.
All right.
Is DeArmond and Fulmer going to be sitting together Friday night?
No.
Is he headed? Why not, man? I think it would be awesome.
Nah.
Philip is going to be.
I would rather not throw up.
Maximus will be Drew's +1 for the Rocket City Awards.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That would be awesome. The other thing is, boys, we're 3 weeks. We're 3 weeks from Saturday from me going to Braves Pirates. I've got my DeArmond.
Awesome, man.
DeArmond Biden 2024 sign for national TV. I'm ready, boys. Have a good day.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I hope you have a good one. He's a big Pirates fan. You know, he grew up in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
so,
he is.
Yeah, I'm glad he's going. Hopefully he's got some good seats there. Maybe he can sit with Fatimus Maximus. I certainly won't.
He's your +1.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a +1. We'll see. I doubt it.
All right. You're tomorrow. Well, that's 2 days in a row you've had to endure.
No, Mike's a good dude, man.
I know.
He's
But how dare he, though, slip in a non-sport-esque conversation?
We don't talk sports on this show, man.
We do not.
We talk about tenderloin sandwiches. Come on, man.
By the way, though, they're good. When I was back home, I did not have one.
You did?
I could have. No, I could have. It was on the menu at one of the restaurants we were at. It was on the menu.
Right.
And obviously it's on the menu at every restaurant you go in there, but I chose not to.
Yeah.
I chose not to have it. I opted for the next day visit and grabbed the cherry donut.
Oh, that's right.
Instead.
We had us a cherry donut. It was good.
So that is what we had.
That was a highlight. Bandy and I had a cherry donut.
That is what we had this time. Hey, the U.S. Open getting ready to start this week.
Yeah, it is.
So we'll have Charlie Plott on
CP.
later in the week to break it down.
Mm-hmm.
Golf's third major. Remember, because they moved them, so now it's 3 majors, kind of like that, instead of spacing them out like they used to be. All right.
Headed to Gunners Vegas.
We're done.
Yep.
Our SEC Media Days come up in a little over a month.
They do.
We're going to be in Dallas for SEC Media Days. We'll talk more college football tomorrow. We'll talk college. But we got all kinds of stuff. We got baseball. There's a basketball question that I didn't get to ask today. We'll ask tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah. Really, it's a good one.
Good.
Hi, folks. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, inviting you